let's take our turtle program from last time that makes graph paper, which looks like this, and let's make it more flexible. Right now, the graph paper it produces is always the exact same size. It looks like it's 6 by 6. I would like to make it so that the methods that we've created take inputs so that we can tell it, I want a 10 by 10 graph paper, or I want a 100 by 100 graph paper. When you create your other graph papers, you'll get more points if you can also do the same thing in your other programs. Alright, so I'm going to create some variables. I'm going to call it number of squares. So this is going to tell me how many squares I would like it to be across and up and down. So if it's 10, I'm going to want to create a 10 by 10 graph paper. Alright, so the methods that actually draw my squares are going to need to know what this number is. Because if I'm drawing 10 squares and they need to fit inside a 600 by 600 window, that's going to determine how large each square has to be. So I need to give my methods this input somehow. Let's see, go to upper left. It seems like that doesn't need to change, because I'm not actually changing the size of my window. So it doesn't matter how many squares I'm drawing. I still am going to do the exact same thing for go to upper left. Alright, let's think of what else needs to change. What is this loop doing? It looks like this loop is controlling how many times I draw a row of boxes and move to the next row. So it seems like this number 6 is controlling how many rows I have. Let's just test out that theory. Yep, if I make it 3, now I'm only displaying 3 rows. Alright, so I think if this is supposed to be the number of squares, I think that's exactly how many times I want it to loop. Number of squares. Okay, well this doesn't seem to have worked because I still only have 6 rows here. What's happening is, it's because the size of the box that I'm drawing is too large. So it's actually drawing 10 rows, it's just that most of them are off the bottom of the screen. So what I need to do is I need to give my draw row of boxes command this number so that it can figure out what's the right size of box to draw. So you know that whenever you want to give a command new inputs, you have a comma inside the parenthesis, and you give it the number that you want it to have as an input. So I'm giving it the number of squares. Now all of a sudden it's complaining because I'm giving it 2 inputs, but let's look at where I create the command. Here where I create the command, I've only created 1 variable to hold the input. So let's see, the second input I'm giving is an integer, so I'm going to have another integer here, which I'm also going to call number of squares. So now, so let's trace the code. 10 gets stored into number of squares. When I run draw row of boxes, I call it with YRTL and this number 10, and this 10 gets copied down inside of the input variable for draw row of boxes. So now, number of squares inside here is also 10. Alright, what's draw row of boxes doing? So this is controlling how many boxes I draw on the row. So I think this number 6 should also be number of squares. Because number of squares not only describes how many rows I have, it also describes how many boxes in each row. Alright, draw a box. It seems like here's the key part. I need to tell my draw a box command how large each box is going to be. But before I can do that, I need to calculate it. So, size of box. Let's see, size of box. So my screen is 600 pixels. And I'm going to divide that by the number of squares, and that should give me the size of each box. So if I have 600 pixels as width, and I want to draw 10 boxes, each box should be 60. Okay, now that I've calculated the size of box, I can use it in a way that's appropriate. So when I draw a box, I'm going to tell it how big I want the box to be. I'm going to give it size of box. And because I'm giving draw a box a second input, I need to go to the draw a box method and have a variable that can accept that input. So if size of box here equals 60, when I run the draw box command, YRTL gets copied into A, and size of box, which is 60, gets copied into this variable size of box. So now my draw a box method can use that information. All right, do I need to change 4? No, that doesn't make sense because 4 is how many sides in my box, and boxes still have 4 sides. Forward 100, here's the problem. So forward 100, that's how far I'm actually going to go before I turn and make the next side of the box. So this is what should be size of box. Turn right 90 degrees. Yeah, I still want to turn right 90 degrees. That makes sense. Okay. Don't run it yet because we're not done. We haven't thought through the very end of this yet. So I believe that this draw a box command is now going to draw the right size box. Let's go back up to draw row of boxes. So I'm drawing this many boxes. Each box is going to be this size. What did this forward 100 do? Oh yeah, after I draw a box, I need to go forward by the length of the box before I draw my next one, so that way each box will occur one after the other. So instead of going forward 100, I think I want to go forward size of box. Let's actually look and see what it looks like if I don't do that. If I don't do that, yeah, look, see, I'm drawing a box, but then there's this extra gap here, and then this is all off for some reason. So that makes sense, because if each box is only 60 long, but I'm going forward by 100, when I draw my next box, it's going to be spaced over a little bit. So let's make this one size of box also. And, so it's still not quite right. It looks like I'm successfully drawing 10 boxes in this direction, but when I go to the next line, the spacing is off. So let's go and look at move to start of next row. I see the problem. In move to start of next row, I'm turning right, which makes my turtle face down, and then I'll go forward 100. And that worked because before, each box was length 100, so that was going down exactly one row. But now, the size of my box depends. So I'm going to need to do the same thing here. I'm going to give it number of squares. Wait, why can't I give it size of box here? Because that's what it needs. It needs to know how big each box is. The problem is this variable size of box doesn't really exist here. It only exists where I calculated it down in here. So if I wanted to, I could recalculate the size of the box up here. I could say size of box is 600 divided by number of squares. And then here I really could give it size of box. That could work. Or I could just give it number of squares, and then inside the method I could calculate the size of the box. I think that's what I'm going to do. So this is number of squares, and then inside here I'll say size of box is 600 divided by number of squares. And so instead of going forward by 100, I want to go forward by the size of the box. Let's see, here I'm going back to the beginning. So I think what I want to do is I want to go backwards by the size of my box times the number of boxes. Because that's the total distance that I traveled when I was drawing the boxes, so that's how far I should go back to get to the beginning again. Alright, let's take a look at it now. Great, so now I've got 10 by 10. And what's so cool about this is, look, just by changing this one number, what if I make it 20? Now I've got a 20 by 20 graph paper. If I make it 4, now I've got a 4 by 4 graph paper. So by using the power of inputs into your commands, you've made it very easy to make a very flexible program. If I wanted to now, I could ask the user to type how many squares in their graph paper, and I could have the user determine what this number was, and that would make my program fully flexible. Okay, I hope this video has helped you. I hope that you have excellent graph papers.